1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move, whatever click you choose.
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me flaming up that intro right there. If you want to get that song, it's available on a 10-song EP. You can get it on digital download, or you can get it on a CD. Hit me up at my email at 16tolifemusic@gmail.com, or DM me on my Instagram at 16tolife, 16DALIFE, all one word, Cashapp, Zelle, or PayPal me $20, and you can get it ASAP. So today I'm going to be talking about former UFC two-time heavyweight champion Kane Velasquez. So yesterday he was sentenced to 5 years after pleading no contest in a shooting where he chased a car, and an individual in the car that he was shooting at was shot 2 times. And actually it was not the individual that he was intending to kill, it was the stepfather. So let me play you guys a video clip and they'll explain more in detail what happened.
5 years. That was the sentence handed down today to former MMA champion Kane Velasquez. Now, the charges stem from an incident that happened back in 2022, where Velasquez shot at a man accused of sexually assaulting his son. Our South Bay reporter Jesse Gary has been covering this case for all of these years and joins us now live outside the courthouse in San Jose. So, Jesse, when does the sentence begin, and just how long will Velasquez end up being behind bars?
Heather, good evening to you. Kane Velasquez was taken into custody immediately after that 5-year sentence was handed down. Now, he is receiving credit for time served initially when he was taken to jail, and then remember he was placed on home confinement for several years. That plus the formula of 1 day served in jail equals 2 days credit means that he will be done serving his sentence in roughly 1 year.
It feels a little bit like a mixed bag, I think, for the family of Mr. Velasquez and his supporters.
Defense attorney Renee Hessling hoped Kane Velasquez would be able to walk out of the Hall of Justice the way he walked in Monday afternoon, a free man. But inside Department 37, Judge Arthur Bocanegra, his voice cracking with emotion, sentenced the former MMA fighter to 5 years in prison for trying to shoot Harry Gallardi.
The sentence is extremely disappointing. It's based on an alleged allegation that has no basis.
Gallardi is accused of sexually abusing Velasquez's 4-year-old son in 2022 while working at a South Bay daycare owned by Patricia Bender. Investigators and the court confirm on February 28th of that year, Velasquez learned of the abuse from his son and called police. Gallardi was arrested, questioned, and released, but the DA's office never informed the Velasquez family of his release or case status.
Anytime something like this happens, we sort of examine our processes and determine, do we need to make some new change, or is it just something that it was understandable why this may have happened?
Velasquez, believing Gallardi was going free, tracked him to his Morgan Hill home, then followed the vehicle carrying Patricia Bender, Paul Bender, and Gallardi. He used a 40-millimeter semi-automatic handgun to fire repeatedly at the car, chasing the vehicle 11 miles north to San Jose.
Mr. Velasquez should have allowed the court process to continue instead of taking the law into his own hands.
Prosecutors had asked the court for a 30 years to life sentence. Judge Bocanegra, admitting the weight of this case, said the court can't consider the serious and potentially deadly crimes in a vacuum. Mitigating factors, Velasquez's blemish-free record, and record of service to the community. and the fact he believed a child predator had been let loose.
We did not want him to go back into jail or prison, and unfortunately that's what happened today. However, I do think that the court made a good decision today.
The only person who is responsible for the crimes that Mr. Velasquez committed is Mr. Velasquez.
Again, Velasquez could be released in approximately 1 year if he maintains good behavior. As for Paul Galarte, his case for allegedly sexually abusing Kane Velasquez's 4-year-old son starts June 22nd. Patricia Bender says she and her family have evidence that will show those charges are false. We're live outside the Hall of Justice here in San Jose. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
All right, Jesse, thank you.
So as you can see there, and excuse my terminology, but his deal was sweeter than Project Kool-Aid. He got extremely lucky. You heard the prosecution say that they wanted him to do 30 years to life for the attempted murder. Because if we speaking in legal terms, what he done was actually extremely reckless. Now, of course, you know, you'll have many out there that will say he done what any father would do. I mean, of course, after hearing some horrific news like that, any father who feels that he is a protector of his family is going to be horrified. But now, if we speak it in legal terms, of course, in the United States, they do not want a person extracting vigilante justice, right? Because then after things like that begin to happen, the problem that the courts feel, and we're speaking from a legal aspect here, that you'll have people creating their own rationale to start getting revenge, vigilante justice, so on and so forth. Now, I'm speaking from personal experience when I say that deal, 5 years, and then you got some home confinement, and you probably should be home in a year, was sweeter than Project Kool-Aid, is because me, myself, I was also sentenced to 9 years plus life. After being found guilty of an attempted murder. So I was given 9 years for great bodily injury. I was shooting and an individual was struck in the head. I was found guilty of that, but I was given a separate life sentence for the individual that the courts claimed that I was trying to shoot at, who never was even hit. So this situation right here kind of is very similar to mine. Now, in the eyes of the courts, premeditation is it's whimsical, and it's a very loose term, right? So a quick rundown on my situation. I was at a party. According to the courts, I was struck by another gang member. I pulled out a gun and I started shooting. So just in those 2 seconds, according to the court's argument, where I made the decision to pull out a gun and shoot, that constituted premeditation. So premeditation can be applied very loosely to certain situations, right? And so this guy, he escaped a very harsh sentence because if we're speaking in all honesty, he was shooting at an individual who just had an accusation, right? And of course, by that being his son, he's going to be emotionally charged. He's going to be extremely angry. But once again, just speaking from a legal standpoint, Kane Velasquez dodged a bullet. And once again, you're going to have many people out there who condone his actions as a father. But if we are looking at the things realistically, what he did was extremely reckless because he chased down a car that also contained other individuals. Maybe it was his anger that didn't allow him to think rationally and allow him to act rationally. And so while you was attempting to harm the individual who was accused of molesting your son, what you actually did is harm another individual. His stepfather shot him twice, and also his stepmother, I believe, was in the car, or there was another lady in the car. And so you basically took them through a horrifying experience due to your anger at the dude who was accused of molesting your son. Now, once again, I don't want anybody out there to misconstrue what I'm saying. He did what he did, and I believe he did what many individuals, fathers or mothers, possibly may have did in that situation. But once again, you know, I'm an advocate for not harming individuals who have nothing to do with a certain situation, right? So he should have tried to control his anger a little better. He should have plotted, planned, and strategized, to quote Tupac, and did that a little better to where he would not harm, terrorize, and basically create havoc in the lives of others. realistically speaking, and looking back on the situation in hindsight, because of course, they say hindsight is 2020, he actually came out better with this situation. Had he have killed his intended victim, you can best believe there is no way he would have got this case, and he definitely would have went and probably had to do some serious time, because once again, the law is not going to allow an individual to extract vigilante justice on a person. You already seen that the prosecution was arguing for him to get 30 years to life. So walking away with 5 years, he done a little bit of time. He also had to do some time in home confinement, and they say he may be out in a year, is a extremely great deal. Now, Kane Velasquez was also an extremely great fighter. I believe in the top 30 heavyweights, he's ranked as number 24. And once again, he was a 2-time champion. I believe he beat Junior Dos Santos in a rematch to regain his title, and he beat Brock Lesnar also. I don't know, man. For some reason, I never really liked Brock Lesnar. I don't know what it was about, right? Maybe just because he was so big and he felt that he could go in there and just bully people with his size. But for whatever reason, I never really liked Brock Lesnar. And when Kane Velasquez whooped on old Brock Lesnar to win the UFC heavyweight championship, he ground and pounded him out, busted him up, hit him with lefts and rights, and it got to a point where Brock Lesnar didn't even fight back. And like I said, I think Brock Lesnar didn't do a whole lot of training. I think, he thought just being so big that he could go in there and overpower people, but of course those dudes are well trained, and you have to do more than just be able to be big and hit hard, because you have other individuals in that league that's big and that's hitting hard. But anyway, once again, Kane Velasquez, things came out extremely well for him considering everything that happened, and he'll be home with his family soon. You already know who it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.